Flash of light, flash of hope, build your dream on destiny song. It can be done when you truly know the mind of right and wrong. So don't pretend a fallen friend, you know the way to go. Or that you are so perfect, like the very perfect arm. Come out of your head city, get off the cosmic cloud.
There needs to be an equilibrium between the masculine and the feminine qualities in true universal marriage. Or else we would not really have true marriage on Urantia. I tell the truth. Even though Neon was very attractive, I was more attracted to another type of woman. I ended up with Neon because of my spirituality. What's that mean? That means that God told me to be with her. His will I wanted more than anything. I'm so glad I obeyed, because she has been such a wonderful blessing to me in this life and these last 33 years than I ever could imagine. And for hundreds of thousands of years, going back on this planet to the Caligastia 100, she was a blessing to me. It is not the wedding ring that establishes the finalization of the union of the male and female. Don't need a wedding ring. It's tradition on this planet, but it isn't on other planets. Who knows what they may give, what they may do. But what it represents is union. That's all. Just union. It is the soul or heart desire to become one in God. We want to become one in God. We are one in God. But I would assume right now, I think sometimes, did I go through in Avalon any of the Urantian mansion worlds beyond 7 in Avalon? Did I go through any of the different 570 bodies? And when I die this time, where am I going? And you know what? I don't know. They haven't told me yet. Maybe in a way they did, but I can't get into that right here. But some of you have heard some alternative journeys that I may take. But the goal is for us to become pure units. The male and female and the invitation of God in the marriage create a true universal marriage or complementary pure unit. Only when God puts you together. If you're not sure God has put you together, take a break and find out. If that means separation, hallelujah. Because you're just hurting the other person when it has to end. Because one or the other will outgrow the other person and make the choice. Either the female will say, we need to split, or the male will say it. May not happen to any of you here. I hope it doesn't. But if it does, praise God. Because it's the best thing for both of you. So that you can indeed get into your higher complementary male or female pair unit. Designed by God from the beginning of existence. Can't go back that far? You need to. Your God has become bigger, has to become bigger than you. The Hermetic Venetic marriage as taught by Van is therefore an individual matter. involving the individual attainment and sincere effort to be balanced, sane, and consistent in everything he or she does in relationship to marriage. Reason, logic, philosophy, courage, daring, aspiration, these things are known to be masculine qualities. By the mystics of history, tapping into the original teachings of Van, just as inspiration, intuition, grace, beauty, faith, and love are basically the qualities of the feminine aspect. In India, the understanding of Radha and Krishna is the analogy to Michael and the Universe Mother Spirit. Fallen Urantia has caused the disharmony of the genders as well as the disharmony of individual circuitry within a diseased circuitry that is now in humankind. A diseased circuitry. That's why we have gender confusion on planets where individuals begin to express these diseased circuitry viewpoints on life. They are quarantined away from population and rehabilitated. This is what is done on higher worlds. So if you have gender confusion, you're quarantined until you come back to alignment with God. Matter of fact, if you disobey commandments, you think, oh, the commandments are just for you. Wow, are you confused? This is done so that they do not cause others to adhere to the distorted viewpoints of sexuality or start a rebellion in their imbalance of the Trinity circuitry. What is rebellion? It's imbalance of the Trinity circuitry in some way. On Urantia and other fallen worlds, because there are no quarantines of imbalanced circuitry, much damage has infected the human race. The great masters of spirituality have always tried to quarantine disciples in their own monasteries and monastic living, or not allow imbalanced initiates into their monastery lifestyles. Proper male and female responses to each other are part of spiritual maturity and ascension. Understanding of this truth, a composite of Elohim, male and female, father and mother, become known in China as the yin and yang, and in India as the Ishava and Avikistasarva of ancient Hindu. It is understood by all adepts of time in the history of Urantia that the home with male and female balanced parents is the strength and moral character, and if these qualities are not taught in the first 15 years of life, the child will be very damaged. The concept and ideal of the Immaculate Conception is not just with Christianity. It is one of the oldest concepts of spiritual history on Urantia. Gods are born of Immaculate Conception in many cultures because man himself is such a damaged creature that surely no God can come from a normal sexual union between man and woman. It has been taught that most men are unbalanced to bring forth the sperm to the virgin seed of the woman, who needs to be also undefiled so that a great soul can be brought through. So they make things up. In cosmic reality, this is close to the truth because only virtuous souls can bring through higher star seed or a son of God. Overcontrol looked thoroughly on Urantia to find the most pure male and female they could, who were married, to bring through, or who would be married, to bring through the divine Son, Michael, Jesus. And they found him in Israel. But believe me, it wasn't because all of the Israelis were pure souls. The more perfect the soul, the more higher the incoming soul can be. The Urantia book brings through the truth that Joseph cohabited with Mary to bring through Jesus, and that he was the Son of God despite this normal sexual relationship. Jesus himself, as he began to teach, taught that man had to reach the perfection of God. It begins right here on this lower evolutionary world. That's why he told his apostles to be, and everybody he taught, to be perfect, like he was perfect. So we pray every Wednesday here for perfection, that our hidden sins and presumptuous sins be revealed, because we too, one day, can bring through higher starseed. Even if right now, you may be 60 or 70 years old. No, what I mean is you were past this planet and you will marry another young man or woman. And your soul will be ascended then, more ascended, to bring through a higher soul. That's how it works. That's the Venetic Hermetic marriage. And for starseed, particularly fourth order starseed, they must begin what they started at some point in their spiritual evolution back on your Purna Virgin planet, where you blew it. And you became imperfect because the Lucifer rebellion appealed to you. Does it still appeal to you? I hope not. Sex brings forth a good feeling of physical enjoyment. That's for sure. However, when the soul you are cohabiting with is truly loved, and you really love them, the experience of sex is not just physical, but spiritual, and even becomes divine. Some of you really never felt that divine part of your sexual union. I'm not going to get into that, but I have. This whole teaching has been about that in a way. In a big way, yes, I would say. You cannot feel or see what you have not obtained spiritually. If it's just about sex, you will miss a lot. And you can have a complementary, divine, spiritual, pair unit union and not even have sex with your partner, with your complement. It's not about the sex. Love is a pretty powerful thing, true love. Pretty powerful. Your sexual relationships before that purity of soul is really relationships experienced in the lower chakras or lower circuits. To get to the higher circuitry, in the Amadon shirt over there, see higher chakras and lower chakras. To get to those higher chakras, you have to be pure. And that involves so many things. To know what that is, come to the University of Ascension Science and the Physics of Rebellion, and you can learn what it is. Having sex in the lower chakras, you are at the root circuits and experiencing animalistic physical experiences. Animalistic, not divine. And animals don't even have a soul. You have not evolved beyond the root circuits. And you will be limited by the gods from receiving the gifts of the gods to fulfill your individual destiny. I mean, this is some heavy stuff here. The relationship of Christ Mike with the Universe Mother Spirit, He wants us to have on this planet, between man and woman, male and female, positive and negative, yin and yang. We're not just together, to have a baby. That's third dimensional understanding. Fourth dimensional understanding, if you can do that, then God will let you have the baby. If you're in the fourth dimension and trying to have a third dimensional baby, it won't happen. But if you're in the fourth dimension and you follow all the fourth dimensional principles and concepts that God is teaching you, and God will send you then your complement, your higher complement. And you may be thinking right now, oh my God, I'm beyond having a baby now. It's too late. You can't wait another 25 years? What's 25 years? Think about how old you are now and how fast that went. Enjoy your single life. Enjoy it. Because when you have kids, you are busy. You are busy. You have to give up a lot of things to raise a child. How about two children, 3 children? Give up a lot of things to raise children. To the animal man, there is indulgence in all things. Not just sex of a female or male, but you'll be addicted to other things. The first addiction is sex. But then, food. Conquering the animalistic addictions is difficult. But that's what the Lord asked us to do on this fallen world. If the Venetic teachings were on this planet, you would begin to learn them from kindergarten, like they do on higher planets in time and space. Children learn them very, very young. But here, they're gone. They're gone. Only here at the university are they being taught. The God-man or God-human, there should be moderation in all things. There should be self-control. It's a fruit of the Spirit of Michael, of Jesus. If you don't have self-control, you're an animal. Animals do not have self-control. They do what they want to do when they want to do it, anytime. They poo-poo on your floor, they poo-poo everywhere. No self-control. They don't go to the bathroom. They don't even go to one particular place, hardly. They poop anywhere and everywhere, pee anywhere and everywhere. Humans, some humans on this planet, do the same thing in third world countries. They haven't gone beyond the animal stages. To the divine man, the God-man, there is abstinence in all things. There is moderation in all things. Without that abstinence, we become gluttons. We can become gluttons in a lot of things. Sex, food, drugs, reading, overreading books. Become a bookworm and not go out and get any physical exercise. We have to be balanced in all things. And we take pride, some of us, in being a bookworm. Don't take pride in that. Take pride in being balanced. Maybe you should read your book. I'm not talking to anyone here. I'm talking to somebody who has this problem. Maybe you should read this book, Running. I don't know. Get an e-book and run. Do two things at once. That's okay. Be multi-dimensional. It's okay. You have to go beyond singularity. You have to have self-control and desiring the will of God and the laws of God above your self-gratification. Consistency of desiring self-control in all things, in your eating, drinking, or sexual appetites, is the mark of a mature spiritual man or woman. Practice of divine discipline leads to true harmonic marriage between you and your wife or husband, and in an alchemical way with God the Father, Son, and Mother, which is a universal polarity of love. And in such self-control over time, and this consistency, obeying the divine laws of God, become natural and automatic rather than a struggle. There is natural law of polarities and the reproduction of species and fulfillment of the spiritual laws, whereas females become like the universe, Mother Spirit, and you women out there, that should be your goal. So every time you raise your voice a little too loud to your compliment, you're not being like the universe, Mother Spirit. Or the brilliant evening stars, for that matter. And vice versa. Being a male, being in the father circuits, doesn't mean you are to be abusive in those father circuits. How do we know the difference? I don't know. God will tell you. And you have to be open to hearing from God. Nothing could edge each other on more than a compliment, male and female. Really. You think, oh, I'm getting married, I found my compliment, life's going to be wonderful from now on. Doesn't work that way. It takes time. It takes God to be in the middle of every relationship. Because if God isn't in the middle, you would get so mad at the other person, your compliment, your future compliment, that you will leave them. It's called divorce on this planet. If there's any possibility for the two of you making it together, you have to put God in the middle of your relationship. Right dead in the middle. So males become like the Creator's Son, both becoming one and void of the main deficiency of all human minds, rebellion in you. This deficiency then, that rebellion, is also called selfishness. To live a selfless relationship is what both of you have to do. Selfishness tends to using the compliment for your own desires and wishes. If I'm looking at you, it doesn't mean you fit this description. Good or bad. Unfortunately, I do have to turn my head once in a while. It doesn't mean I'm talking about you. The human race, since the rebellion, has lost our semblance to looking at your mate as a Creator Son, or your complement as the Universe Mother Spirit. Think of that male complement as Jesus standing before you, and the female as the Universe Mother Spirit standing before you. That should check you in being, abusive. Because women can be abusive too, not just the male. And abuse in a relationship will only do one thing, destroy it. But today, there's no vows. Nobody Oh, I'll take the vow, but I can break it. What's his name broke it? They broke it. They broke it. You know, the marriage today means hardly anything. It's one thing about the Catholic Church. The marriage is a sacrament. It's a sacred, holy union that should not be broken. Now, if you broke it, you Catholics out there, don't get mad at me. God's forgiven you. You're learning. But the relationship you're in now, don't think about breaking it. Think about making it. Don't think about breaking it. Think about making it. At this moment in time and space, you're hearing higher truth. Even you guys out there in the YouTube world, you're hearing a higher truth. Your children need the two of you to stay together. Okay, I know you just turned it off. As a result of this terrible rebellion that happened on Urantia, the human race has missed the opportunity to acquire balance and symmetry, therefore ignoring the actual meaning of life's relationship between husband and wife, or what should be the goal, pair-unit relationship. It takes a long time for pair-unit relationship to happen. So don't think that because you've been together for 3-5 years, that you're a pair-unit. No way, Jose. Wrong decisions have caused both male and female to stray far from and past the Tao. Or also the Tao is a fixed path that God has given us. Or to get into the design of God for evolutionary humans on Urantia. The Tao, the fixed path, the design. A husband or male complement should be like a priest in the order of Melchizedek. Who else came to this planet besides Jesus? The third epical revelation was Melchizedek, a protector to the wife, and a symbol of guidance to more so hear the will of the Father in the relationship between male and female, to become together a pair unit in the divine new order to come. Because we here, are the examples to the whole world. So I hope we can get there and have enough pair units there for the God the Father to say, okay, I can send Michael back now. In divine administration presently, that is the only spiritual monastic lifestyle that exists to perpetrate the making of true pair units on Urantia. Individuals must first make adjustments within themselves to become the feminine divine and the masculine divine before they can become a pair unit divine, complementary instruments of God. Francis and Claire, they weren't physically married in that life, but they were pair units. A lot of Catholics don't even think of Francis of Assisi without thinking of Sister Saint Clare, male and female, complementary relationships. I'm sure Francis went all the way from Italy to France sometimes just to talk to Neon, and vice versa. Or they met halfway. But they needed that spiritual complementary conversation with each other. Not two instruments, but one flowing and harmonic instrument, positive and negative, masculine and feminine, yin and yang, discovering and hearing from God about a subject, a person, or any other matter. Because two together, hearing from God, is better than one hearing from God. A harmonic marriage, as taught in the Venetic teachings, is the apotheosis of the world's most abused institution that can come out of rebellion and into the glorious power of universal marriage between man and woman to move the purposes of God on earth forward in the divine new order to come. And that's what I do. I'm a pusher in a good way. I'm a mover and shaker in a good way. Pushing the principles of God forward despite the obstacles in my way. And believe me, I have a few obstacles in my way. Divine administration is the first fruits of that harmonic relationship that destiny reservists ought to first bring to the world, and that's all of you that are here first. You're the first fruits of these harmonic marriages. Every one of you here, if you don't have a complement right now you're having sex with, you should have one that you're not having sex with. Ta-da! 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 I have other compliments. Centria is my compliment. Sorry, Santine. Mariah is my compliment. Other first assistants. Cylindra is my compliment. We're not having physical sex together. It's not necessary. But we absolutely have a spiritual union with each other. Absolutely. And you can too. If you think it's just a sexual thing, you'll be unfulfilled. You're not romancing the other person in a good way to be a spiritual complement to you. Not in a negative way. Us men, we grow up thinking we have to go to bed with every woman we meet. And many men do and try. And when they don't, they're frustrated. Women can get that way too if that's your goal, a man. And I wrote that song. I'd rather spend another night alone. I came to that conclusion when I was basically in my late 30s. Enough to stay celibate for almost 12 years of my life. You have to begin to come to that conclusion. But look what I manifested. All of you. Thank you for your patience in listening to me today. I hope this teaching blesses your life in a magnificent way. Thank you. Spiritualution, justice to God's people. The New Jerusalem is coming.
Until you send me my best friend, I'd rather spend another night alone. Yeah, I'd rather spend another night alone. For a woman with true beauty needs spiritual eyes to see. I write a novel.